So why don't we start tying the mayfly, and we're going to start off with its immature stage. We're going to take what I call the hare's ear special. And what makes it different is it has a marabou tail, has a back strap of turkey, has the gold ribbing, and the shell back is medallion sheeting, and the legs are partridge. So let's tie this thing. To start off with, we're going to use a Tiemco 200R hook and put it in our vise snugly. And then for most of my tying, since I tie mainly small flies, I like to use 8/0 thread. We're going to start our thread up in the thorax area and wrap back and put a thread base down. Now we're ready to tie in our tailing material. And the tailing material I like to use mottled marabou. This is Ozark mottled marabou from Umpqua Feather Merchants. Kind of clump it together, and since all the ends aren't quite even, I'm going to snip off an end here, tie it in the thorax area, and just wrap back. And as we do this, I'm pulling back on the tailing material so it all stays on top of the hook shank. Now once I get down just a little bit on the bend here, I'm going to grab it with my right hand to the length I want it, and then I'll pinch the rest off with my left hand. Now we have the desired length we want, and by pinching it you don't have that phony or artificial look if you cut it. Now we'll bring our thread back up a little bit. Now we're ready to tie in our ribbing. Then we're going to tie in some gold wire. The gold wire is to add a little bit of flash to the fly, as well as segmentation and durability. So we take a little bit of it, tie it in up here, and wrap back. I like to keep the gold wire in a bobbin. I like to use the Tiemco ceramic bobbins. Now that we have our ribbing, we're ready to tie in our strap back. And we're going to use a mottled turkey. So what we do is we just take our scissors in here, poke them through, and snip out a section of it and pull it off. Now we'll hold it. And when we tie this in, there's a shiny side and a dull side. So when we first tie it in, we're going to tie it in tip first with that shiny side up. And tie that in. Now we're ready for some dubbing. We're going to use hare's ear. This is already pre-blended. Since we're going to want this fly to be somewhat shaggy, we don't want to dub it real tight. And we just start dubbing it on here. Go back to where we tied in our tail. And start coming forward. Just like so. And we're going to want a nice little taper to it, so we're going to need a little bit more dubbing. Get a little bit more of this buggy material on here. Finish it up right like that. Now we have a nice little taper from the tail to the thorax area. Now we're going to pull the turkey over. We don't want to pull it real tight, because if we do that when we tie it down right now, it would cut it. Just take a couple turns just to hold it in place. Now we're going to take our ribbing. We want to take each wrap so it's nice and evenly spaced. And this adds to the durability of the fly, gives it segmentation, as well as a little bit of flash. And then tie it off. Now we're ready to cut off the ribbing and that. And if we have some scragglers sticking out off the top of the fly, you just pull them off or if you need to, just come in and snip it off. Now we're ready for our back strap, or shell back. And for the shell back, what I like to use is medallion sheeting. So we're going to take it, just run our scissors up there, and cut off a little strip. Now we're ready to tie it in. I'm going to tie it in starting on the side towards you, and then just rolling it over around the hook shank, just like so. Now we're ready to add some more dubbing. Put some more hare's ear on here. Don't need to dub it real tight because we want it to be buggy. I kind of wrap back just a little bit onto the wing case material. Make sure the underside's completely covered. Add a little bit more here. And the nice thing about hare's ear, you can tie this fly in numerous colors, from light tan to a dark brown to olive or even rust. Now I want to leave a little bit of room right in here behind the eye for our leg material. And for the leg material, we're going to use partridge. And I like to use a nice brown partridge, just like that. So we select a feather. Make sure the tips aren't broken off on it. And this is a real good feather here. And I'll lay it against my finger. And I'll just barely open my scissors, like just kind of stab it into my finger a little bit around the stem and just snip it. That way we cut out the center portion and we have a nice V. Then I'll stroke and pull off all this marabou just to get it out of the way. And then we're going to lay it right up here. And then to measure the length of it, we want the legs to be just a little bit beyond the wing case there. So we have the length we want. And I just come in and pinch it and hold it alongside the hook shank. I take a loose wrap and then pull tight so it stays all on top of the hook shank. Take several wraps to make sure it's tied in there nice and tight. Then we come in and snip off the excess. And if we have some guard hairs in there, we just pull them back and wrap them down. Now we're going to just take our fingernail, push down on it, and we get a nice V in there. Then we pull our wing case through and tie it down. Take several wraps to make sure it's tied in nice and tight. Trim it off. And we want to form a nice smooth head. Now we're ready to whip finish. Take off our thread. Now before I take the fly out of the vise, what I like to do is take a bodkin. I'm going to come in right along the side and pick out the guard hairs, give it some gills. And it makes it real easy using AK's bodkin because it is so pointy right here. Then we can flip it over and go down the other side and pick it out. Just like so. Now as soon as we have it done, we're going to come in and just trim it flat with our scissors. We want that nice and flat on the bottom. That way we have a nice slender looking fly. Then we just pull out the fuzz. And if we have some guard hairs that are extra long, we can pull those out. And there's what I call the hare's ear special.